Looking like a bunker. Now, rough concrete like that actually brutalizes us, causes anxiety, makes you angry. So that's an angry building. Stop looking at it. We'll talk mostly about the buildings on the right side here as we go out. This next red brick building, built in 1914, makes it pretty old. The Reed Murdoch building. The name of the style is called Prairie Style. Now later on, a guy named Frank Lloyd Wright picked up the Prairie Style and built homes with it. Now this was used as a bunch of different stuff, including a morgue, but primarily a warehouse. And note too that the building is no longer symmetrical. It's got 6 bays of windows to the right and only 5 to the left, because in 1921 they cut off a section of the building to make way for the widening of LaSalle Street. It was a morgue, among other things. You know, Chicago was the birthplace of the skyscraper, the first 10-story steel-framed building made here in Chicago in 1887. Now, Willie Jenney and Louis Sullivan, the 2 architects on that, were liberated from having to put stone on the outside of the building to hold it up. Now that it's held up with steel, they could do anything they wanted. But here's what they came up with. It's called a Chicago-style facade. This building right here is a good example of it. A tripartite face. 3 parts: base, column, capital. The base is something stone and sturdy, often with a lip or a cornice like that appears like it's holding up the building. It's not. The columns are the repetitive pieces in the center. Note the extra large windows, now that you got steel instead of stone. And then the capital is a roof line, a cornice on the top. Many times there are decorative themes that tie the base with the capital on the top. And if the first skyscraper had that tripartite design and all the other ones copied it, you could see it everywhere. Building on our right, Merchandise Mart was the biggest building in the world when it was built in 1930. And it's a great example of Art Deco. Here's some features you'll see in Art Deco. You'll need this for the test. Is soaring vertical lines. Notice it draws your eye up, up, up. The setbacks in the building gets thinner as it goes up. Those metal things above and below the windows there are called spandrels. They put metal on the outside of a building. Also, you can barely see, but check closely. You see the arrows going to the right and to the left. See the diamonds and octagons and stuff. Those geometric shapes, repeating patterns. Now compare this to the Wrigley building. The Wrigley building looks like it was hand done by artisans. This looks like it was stamped out by a machine. And it was like, you know, almost made on an assembly line. Now, this is a different style, what they were going for. In the late 20s, they call it the Roaring 20s. Things were looking up, up, up. The optimism of the generation is built into the buildings. Take a look around at all this beautiful stuff we get to see from here, and I want to mention something about our river. The Chicago River is relatively short originally. 1 mile, the main branch. The north branch went up about 4 miles. South branch went down about 4 miles. And in 1837, when the city became a city, the first thing they did was commission a 10-mile canal be dug across a swampland that connected the south branch of the Chicago River to the Des Plaines River. Now that 10 miles was the last missing link in a continuous waterway that connected the Okay, you see the airplane? You've seen the airplane and the logo of the Boeing building? Straight ahead here. And as we come under here, there's a train, there's a plane on top of a train, on top of a car, on top of a boat. See that? The only place in the universe this ever happens is right here, I think, as far as I know. But it's fun, they're building another office tower here. It's going to occupy this whole lot. And in fact, I was over here today talking to the construction guys because I'm an engineer and I like looking at this stuff. It's kind of fun. To the north, up to Fullerton, which is, you know, midway through Lincoln Park there. That's how big the rectangle was, and everything burned. Wow. So by the time the fire was over, they knew they were going to rebuild the city of Chicago, and so they did. What they did is they pushed the ash and rubble of the Chicago fire right into Lake Michigan. And remember, Michigan Avenue was once the lakefront, right? And so that means Grant Park, Streeterville, Lincoln Park is all built on the ash and rubble of the Chicago fire. You're probably on rubble of the fire. And so they did. They pushed it all in, they extended the lakefront, and they started over again. Now, they laid out the streets in a nice grid pattern so that State Street and Madison Street are the 0 streets. Every 8 blocks is a mile in each of the directions. Every 100 is a block. So 1600 North Clark Street, for instance, it's only 20 bucks. And on a good day, you can see 4 states from up there. You can see Michigan, Indiana, Wisconsin, and Hawaii from the top of the Sears Tower. Okay, this will be on the final test, so pay attention. How tall is it? It is 1,450 building next door. So what it's doing is it's shooting this kind of web of connectivity between all these different buildings. It's kind of fun. This bridge in front of us here, we're going under the Wells Street Bridge, my favorite. It is a 2-year-old bridge that is an exact replica of the 91-year-old bridge that it replaced. Good for another 91 years. Now look at the lamps on it, look at the banisters here, all the beautiful old detail made, exact replica. Built in sections down the river, brought here in barges, jacked up, bolted together. Buildings to the right, old and new as well. The left half built in 1927, the right half built in 1987. Modern part uses modern materials and styling. It doesn't forget the past, nor does it exactly copy it. It kind of complements it. The bridge we're crossing here is LaSalle Street Bridge. This is one I recommend going and looking south off LaSalle Street. The skyscraper across this way, 1920s Art Deco office tower called the LaSalle Wacker Building. Just to note, the footprint of that building is a capital letter H. And one of the reasons for those light wells, they're called, to let light down, is also to give the building more windows. If it was square, it would actually have fewer windows. And before air conditioning, if you didn't have windows, you'd be pretty hot. These next 2 center buildings both have this beautiful reflective glass that on puffy cloud days like today, it really look nice. And actually these 2 buildings, sometimes they look invisible when the clouds are on them and you go past it, because what you see reflecting off of it is the movement of this cloud that appears like it's the cloud behind it, and it looks like you're looking right through the building. These channels in this building are meant to mimic the canals on the river. And this next building, my favorite, the United Airlines building, it used to be anyway,